Good morning, everybody. Sorry about that. So this is week 2 talking about relationships. Last week, if you remember, we talked about awareness of our thoughts creating our relationship with others. So for those of you who are new to me, my name's Amber Khan, and I am the Lifestyle Life Coach. And a little bit about life coaching for those of you who aren't familiar with the concept. I hate to compare it directly with therapy, but it is a mental health and wellness avenue. The difference between life coaching and therapy is therapy is pretty past focused, trying to understand why things are the way they are, and it's also mental illness focused, whereas life coaching is present focused and action oriented. So it is not just understanding why we feel the way we do or why we have the results that we have, but what can we do about it? So the thing that struck me about it is it's really process focused. If you don't know me, in my daily life, I am a process improvement coach and I love it. That's in the professional world. And the thing that struck me about life coaching was that there is a process for increasing your mental health and wellness. There's such a whole host of tools that we have in our life coach toolbox that it can deal with anything. It can deal with past trauma, relationships, business, weight, health, goals, anything that you want to deal with. We have a tool for that here in life coaching. So relationships is something I get a lot of feedback about, that people want to improve their relationships. So what a better way to start than with that? So last week we talked about, pardon me while I just get comfy, just chatting with friends, right? Last week we talked about the awareness of our thoughts and how they produce the results that we're getting in our relationships. So I'm going to review the model. Remember, it's made of 5 elements. The first one is circumstances. Those are facts. Those are things that are outside of your control. Then there are your thoughts about those circumstances. So your thoughts are your judgments, your perceptions, your understanding of the world around you, of all of those circumstances. Thoughts are sentences in our brain, right? Those create all of the feelings that we have. There is no feeling without a thought. I get a lot of people who don't believe that, but I'm telling you, it is true. Feelings are really a physical manifestation of a thought in your body. So the next time you are super angry, think about or try and be aware of what it is that's making you angry, and then think of how that's manifesting in your body. The two are connected for sure. And the feelings that we have drive all of the actions that we take. And so in the action category, it is also reaction and inaction. Sometimes doing nothing is an action in and of itself. So circumstances are facts. They're things that happen outside of our control, but our thoughts about them are what we do control. Those are the sentences in our mind that have our judgments and perceptions about the world. Those create all of the feelings that we have, the physical. Those are literally the physical manifestations of thoughts in our body. Those drive all the actions we take or don't take, which create the results that we have. So I want to tell you, this is all thought focused, this session today. Little action focused too. But I want to talk to you about expectations and how other people are always letting you down. So think about one person, a significant person who you'd like to improve your relationship with. It could be a spouse, it could be a boss, it could be a child, it could be a friend. Think about that person and think about how you expect them to show up in your relationship. We all have these super long, detailed instruction manuals for how we expect people in our lives to behave. I have libraries full of them on the things that I expect from my husband, for example. He should say nice things to me. He should do all of the things around the house. He should compliment me. He should buy me presents sometimes, right? He should give me hugs and hold my hand. I have all of these expectations for him. He has a manual so thick he could never even read it, much less live up to it. But when he doesn't, that's what I go to for why I'm angry with him. I blame him for not following the manual. The manual that I often have not even shared with him. He might not even be aware of why I'm mad because I expected him to do a thing that he didn't do, that he didn't know he was supposed to do. Think about that in terms of your boss, for example. We expect our bosses to appreciate us, listen to us, trust us, compliment us, or give us helpful feedback, right? Maybe give us some coaching or some training or pay us all of the money. Yes, please pay us all of the money. We expect all of these things from our bosses, but those are generally unwritten and often uncommunicated. I have so many manuals for my kids too. They should for sure love me and always tell me how much they love me, right? Because I am their mom and that is my life's work, is raising my kids. No, sometimes kids don't love you. Sometimes they don't know how to express that to you. They should express gratitude, right? That's on page 3 of the manual for my kids. They don't usually. Usually I get more excited about the things that I want to do with my kids that I'm not able to do, or that I'm able to do with them, and they're like, meh. I build it up in my mind, in my manual of how this is supposed to work. So think about your manuals for your people in your lives. I will tell you, there is a secret. Grown-ups get to do whatever they want to do. They for sure don't have to follow your manual. Chances are they have manuals for you too, that you may or may not even be aware of, but they do what they want. It's I see it on Facebook all the time. I'm grown, I do what I want, and I giggle, but it's so true. There is nothing that someone outside of me can make me do. The only thing that makes me do anything is what I think about what I'm supposed to do, how I feel, and that drives my actions, remember? So, let go of your manuals. We have these manuals for our people in our lives because we think that if they follow these manuals, then we will feel the way that we want to feel. If our spouses follow the manuals that we have for them, if they live up to the expectations that we have set in our minds that they don't even know about, then we will feel good. We will feel happy. We will feel fulfilled. Or if our bosses or our children, if our friends, our neighbors, our family members, if they live up to those expectations that we set in our manuals, we'll feel good, right? We'll feel loved, we'll feel connected, we'll feel worthy and valuable. And I have to tell you that our feelings don't ever come from anything outside of us. No, seriously, I mean it. No person outside of you creates your feelings. That's all you. All of your thoughts, all of your feelings, and all your actions produce all of your results. It all comes from you. And I said it last week, I'll say it again. It's the best news and the worst news. The best news in the whole world is that you're 100% responsible for all of your own thoughts and feelings and actions. Excuse me. You're grown, you do what you want. But you're 100% responsible for all of your thoughts, your feelings, and actions. Don't wait around for someone to create joy in you. Don't expect someone to create love in you. They can't. Here's what they can do. Excuse me, pardon me. So here's what happens. They do a thing. Someone outside of us does a thing, and we think about that thing. Oh, that was so good. That means that they love me. They bought me this present, or they took me to this place, or they said this thing to me. How we know that it isn't what they do that makes us feel love or happy or fulfilled or joy is because that not everybody in the world would perceive that same circumstance, that same action that's outside of themselves the same way. I'll give you an example. When my husband was my boyfriend, he would come to my house and he would see the dishes piled up in the sink. Don't you touch me. And he would get so frustrated with me because he did not love dishes in the sink. So he would do the dishes, and he thought that that was him being a loving boyfriend, and that I would appreciate that and I would feel love for him. And let me tell you what, so many times I was like, get out of my kitchen and quit doing my dishes. I can take care of myself because I'm grown, right? Not everybody in the whole world would be angry or frustrated or resentful for someone doing their dishes. And now that we are married, I am so grateful that he does the dishes. But his action didn't create that feeling. It was my thought and interpretation of it. So I sit a lot, when you have expectations that people don't meet, you sit a lot in resentment. That is an emotion that you are choosing by thinking the thought they should do what I expect them to do. The next time you resent someone, think about, I am choosing this. The first time I heard my coach say that, I was very mad at her. And I was like, but wait, let me tell you about all the things that my husband should be doing that he's not. And then I kept listening and realized that she was right. Everything that was going on was an expectation that I had set in my libraries full of manuals. The most freeing thing that you can do is let that shit go. First, you have to be aware of it though, right? So that was our first step last week, awareness. And now you have to be willing to be wrong. You have to be willing to let it go. You have to be willing to communicate expectations with someone. So you can make a request. You can ask your friend, your child, your partner, and kids are a little bit different, so we won't get on that right now, but you can ask someone in your life, a grown person, to do something. Whether or not they choose to do it is a whole other story, but you can't make them by expecting it or by being angry and guilting them into it. And if you do, if that's what happens, ask yourself, is this really how I want to be showing up in this relationship? So here's the homework for you. I want you to sit down and I want you to pick a person. I want you to think very hard about all of your manuals for them and write them down in as much detail as you can. So if I pick my husband, and I do pick on him a lot because he's easy. If I pick my husband, you can write down all the expectations that you have for your husband, that he comes home when he says he's going to come home, that if he's going to go somewhere else, that he tells me that he tells me that I'm pretty, that he tells me that he appreciates me or that he loves me, that he calls me or texts me a certain amount of times a day. All of those expectations, write them down. With each of those expectations, think about how you think you will feel if they do what you expect. So will you feel loved, included, appreciated, valuable, worthy, satisfied? What do you think you will feel if they do those things? I can promise you that they can't do things to make you feel a certain way. Everything you feel comes from inside of you. Next week, we're going to talk about how to generate a feeling. This week, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between manuals and asking for things versus boundaries. So, manuals are the expectations that we have for the people in our lives. They're almost always made up in our heads. They're almost always uncommunicated. And they almost always are things that we expect others to do so that we can feel good in our lives. So how do you get someone to do what you want them to do? You can't. You can ask, and then you can set boundaries. Let's use an example. If you have a friend who always comes over unannounced, the friend is like family, they walk in the house, and who knows what you're doing at the time. That is something we might consider a boundary violation. So boundaries are think about it like property. Think about it like a fence around your house or the actual perimeter of your house. It is where you are comfortable letting someone in or letting someone cross. Sometimes we communicate boundaries, like don't just walk in my house unannounced. Sometimes we don't just walk in a room and communicate all of our boundaries without being asked. So I don't ever walk into a party at a friend's house and be like, nobody hit me. If you do, I'm calling the police. And also don't steal my stuff, because also I'll call the police. Like, sometimes boundaries are set by society, or they're things that we don't just communicate. But when you have a boundary violation, here's what you can do. 1, tell someone that they have violated a boundary, and 2, tell them exactly what you're going to do about it. If you want to set boundaries in advance, which is such a healthy thing to do, they always have to be done from a place of love, from a place of love for you, and even for a place of love for the other person. So you can't set a boundary in anger, or you never know if it's a healthy boundary. Set a boundary from a place of love that takes care of you and your needs and your safety. So if your friend is someone who comes in the house unannounced anytime, you can set a boundary that is, hey, I appreciate that you come over because you feel comfortable and you feel welcome here. Please call us before you come over, and don't just walk in without knocking, because you never know what we're going to be doing or if we're even going to be home. So here's the boundary part. If you action, I will consequence. If you come over unannounced, we might not be home. We might not let you in the door, or we might ask you to leave. Okay, so you have set the boundary as coming in my house, and the action is ask you to leave or not let you come in, right? So those are boundary, the kind of the rules for setting boundaries. And we could talk about boundaries for ages. There is a big difference between boundary violations and manipulation. So it is not setting a boundary to look at your spouse and say, if you don't take out the trash, we're not having sex for a week. That's manipulation. That is not a boundary violation. Not taking out the trash is not a thing that violates any of your safety or health and wellness needs. It is not following the rules of your manual, right? It's a whole different thing. So my coach, and another thing about boundaries, this is super important. Boundaries are only for you. Boundaries still allow the other people in your lives to be exactly who they are, show up how they're going to show up, and you are not trying to control or manipulate who they are or how they show up in life. So here's the greatest example that my coach uses all the time. She has a friend. The friend is habitually late, and she will get super angry with this friend when they have plans to go somewhere and everyone's waiting on the friend to show up. The friend is late. They're all late for their plans. So she created a boundary out of not anger for the friend, but love for the friend and respect for the relationship, that, hey, we're all meeting here at 4:30 and we're leaving by 5 to go to our dinner reservation. If you aren't here by 5, we're leaving without you. That's fine. Take your time. You can either meet us at the restaurant or we'll try again another day, but we're leaving by 5. So setting that boundary, if you do this thing, here's the consequence or the result that will happen because of that. That still allows it's done in a place of love, still allows the friend to show up exactly how they're going to show up in life. It's not controlling or manipulative, but it's honoring the needs of the person who sets the boundary, right? I will say one thing. So in terms of abuse, manuals and boundaries, it's kind of different. Physical abuse is a whole other story. If that's a situation that you're in, get help and get out. This is for your emotional health and wellness, and for your run-of-the-mill relationships, the relationships that we all have all the time. if you have questions, if you want to know more, if any of this resonates with you, if you need relationship rescue, please reach out to me on my Facebook right here at The Lifestyle Life Coach, or you can direct message me. You can email me at coach@thelifestylelifecoach. I'm here for you. My life's mission is to live and leave a legacy of love, and coaching is the most loving thing I could do for anyone. I hope that you all have wonderful relationships. Let's meet back here, same time, same place next week. We're going to talk all about those feelings that you want someone else to provide you, how to create those within yourself. Bye, loves.